Hello, welcome to the Life of Marshall. Today we're going to look at the Old Army build part list and what we intend to put together, and hope to goodness we get it right the first time. So what we have here is the part list. I went through and just kind of went ahead and found the parts that I already own that I can use to build, and also added in the parts that I purchased to get an idea of how much this entire build will be worth for one, and what parts are compatible or not compatible as well. So I can start planning out how I want to do my build once it arrives. Additionally, once we get the parts in, we'll do a couple one-offs for reviews of the parts just to maximize the time available and hopefully give you enough information to start making decisions on your own. So the first item that we picked, although this says the 7600, I did get an Intel Core i5, but what I ended up buying was the 8600. The reason I went this route is because it is an LGA 1151, which is the same socket as the Z170 board that I'm using, but I couldn't find a compatibility guarantee between the two, so it's kind of a risk picking this up, but it was a pretty good deal. It wasn't a 7700, which is what I wanted to get just because the price point was far too high. But overall, this has been, or is said to be a good processor. I mean, heck, it got 5 stars on Newegg, so you know. It is a 3.66 core processor. So with hyper-threading, that should push us up to 12 cores, which will be more than enough for the workload we're expecting with this machine. Um, but from a processor standpoint, that works. The other reason I ended up picking that processor is it came with a Corsair certified Hydro Series H100 IV2, which is a very nice water cooler. I've seen them used in a lot of videos. It's an AIO, which is an all-in-one. There's no tubing I have to mess with other than what's on their stock. Everything's enclosed. We don't have to worry about purging air out or switching out fluids. And it's supposed to be really a good and easy install. I've never messed with water cooling before, but it's something I do want to start getting into, so I figured this is a good first chance. Plus, considering the usage is going to be mostly for video games that are pretty intense, like Ark Survival that really wears out your computer, Conan, and similar games, I think this would be a good selection for that build. This one is a refurbished unit that I bought, but overall, I mean, it's fine. It comes with 2 fans, which helps out. And this will hopefully mount to the case in a very easy manner. We'll look at the case here shortly. The Z170 Gaming M5 motherboard is the motherboard I already own. I've got it in stock. I've got a couple of them. And so I wanted to use this one to build a computer to reduce costs. It is a good board though. It does have 7 PCIe slots, 2 of which are for graphics cards. It has 4 slots for memory. It also has 2 M.2 slots. I'll pull up a picture for you just to make it easier to share the information. It's got a nice red and black setup, which I like. And if you notice over here, you'll see this red line. That red line actually lights up when you apply power to the system and it's powered on. These are all PCIe 1, and then these 2 slots are support SLI, which is very nice, and the motherboards actually come with a soft bridge, not a hard bridge. In this build, we're not going to be using the bridges though, because it's only a 1060 that we're putting in the computer, but overall we should be good. It also has a multitude of SATA ports, additional SATA ports, and enough fan headers to support everything, and USB 3. So we can get all the functionality we need out of it. It's just a gamble on the 8600. But we'll see how that goes, and you know you'll be able to witness the process. The memory I went with is memory I already have in stock, which is the Crucial 8 gig by 4. So that'll give us a 32 gigabytes of memory, which should be far more than enough for the games that are going to be used on this system. I currently have that in the system I'm recording on, and it works great. It's way more than enough for all the games I play, which include things like Doom or Divinity. I play also Ark and Conan, and I think I'd also have Unreal Tournament on here, the newest version of it, which is really enjoyable to play if I could just keep up. It's been so long since I've played those, it takes me a little bit. But overall, 32 gigs, more than enough. 2133. It could be faster. I think this board supports up to 3000 as far as memory speed, but 2133 will be more than enough. The A data drives, one thing is they're cheap. They're M.2. They perform at the same pace as the SATA 3 drive, which is the 6 megabits a second. And I've got two of them that will work in RAID 0. So collectively, I'll have 256 gigs of storage on the board, not hard drives floating around in the case. But this is bolted onto the board, and they run really fast. I've already tested it on my test rig, super fast, super smooth, and definitely an interesting setup. Um, but thankfully, I have those in stock. Additionally, we have a MSI. Forgot to pop it out as a new window, new tab. There we go, Mobile. So the card that we have in his current system, which we'll be transferring to this system, is the MSI GTX 1060 6 gigabyte Gaming X card. Use this in a couple builds and it's really amazing. It's a high quality card, and I've got all these weird preferences, and if I can get MSI, I really like installing them just because I've never had an issue with them. This card will outperform the card that he previously had, which was the GTX 980. He had some issues with the 980 where one of the um, I think it was memory modules actually overheated and it popped the blue smoke, and we all know with computers when you pop blue smoke it's pretty much done. So that component was replaced with the 1060 and he couldn't be happier as far as gaming performance. The case that I picked up is this Fractal Design case. I am a huge fan of this Fractal Design case. I had it, here we go. It's a very nice looking case. I haven't always known, I've just learned about Fractal probably about 2 years ago. I don't know if that's when they came on the market or if they've been around for a while. That's just when I finally stumbled into them. But I came across them watching other people on YouTube like Jay's Two Cents and Paul's Hardware, who do a lot of case reviews and a lot of testing and installations. And this case just really caught my eye. I think it's the mixture of the tempered glass, the let me get to a better picture here. The cable management system in the back, where they give you a little bit of extra room for those really thick and painful cables, like the ATX power cables. Um, you also have the nice rubber grommets that give you plenty of room to work with. You have some nice places to mount hard drives. So they really do a great job of just giving you plenty of room to work with, but yet still make it look classy and clean. It's not crazy looking like you're running around with a mech warrior on your desk, which for some people is fine, but in this particular case, I didn't think was a good solution. It also the other thing I liked about it is this power supply mounting system. I like it a lot better because you can actually pull out that square, mount it to the back of the power supply, slide it all in, and then just thumb screw it down. It's nice and clean, super easy. It's a lot easier in some of the cases where you have to do all these weird thingamajigs and stackings and work out some weird kung fu to get them installed. But overall, I like this case. It's simple, it's classy, get the job done. The other part I like is on the bezel. You have the I/O ports that I like. The USB 3.0, your audio, your mic, which Dad does use, and then you get your light for your hard drive activity. So for me, those help out a lot. The other thing I really had never seen before until this week was these mesh panels that are removable and flexible, and they're on the Thermaltake V21 case that I did an install on. And I was really impressed with that setup. It made a lot of sense too. In my mind, it was mostly for getting keeping out animal hair, and also large particulate and stuff won't get into the case, which is really nice and a common problem for people that have animals or smoke or anything else. It really helps out. So I think that's a great thing on this one. Dad doesn't have any of those, but it could be a nice addition. Plus, it just makes maintenance for me easier in the long run because I will be the one most likely maintaining this. It does have the bottom of the case filter, I'm just interested to see how easy this is to extract, because I've had some cases where that thing is just a bloody nightmare to get out of. There's little special tabs you have to push and yank on to rip it out, and you end up breaking it or just mad at it in general just because it doesn't want to cooperate. But overall, the case just looks nice. Again, it's classy, it's clean, so that's why we're going with that. Um, Also with the power supply, I went with a EVGA Supernova. This is a 750G3 80 plus gold. I have some of these in inventory back there. My main thing is more than enough power because the system is only estimated to pull around 350 to 400 watts. Um, but for some reason, I'm just a 650, 750 watt guy. Just stick with those. They seem to answer the call and never have an issue with them. You also have the support for a lot more GPUs if it ever came up or we want SLI or something to that effect. Also, this power supply is fully modular, as you can see on the screen. So for me, that helps out because it keeps it clean on the inside. Um, I will sometimes go semi-modular, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I prefer to go completely modular just because of the clean look. Um, Much more desirable in those regards. A couple other pictures. Usually with the builds that I do, of course you have to use the motherboard I/O, right, or output. Only one CPU. If you're running like a Threadripper setup or a multi processor setup, you'll end up using both of these. With the SATAs, I usually end up only using one SATA port. I don't use the peripherals, which are the old Molex adapters. What's interesting is with the ones labeled peripheral, you can still run the SATA drives or the SATA cables off of them. I guess they just put that to remind you could if you needed to. And then of course the Ford VGA ports, which are nice. I've been in a situation where I had a person where the VGA that they're plugged into ended up melting and having issues, and they couldn't quite afford a new one yet. So I had another cable, was able to plug it into VGA2, run their video card off of it for a short time until they could get a new power supply. Worked great. It just offers some more options, but not really. I guess not a good use case in this particular scenario. However, if I was to purchase all these parts outright, it would be around $1,200. I did get the processor on sale. I got the water cooler as a combo deal with the processor. It was also on sale. So that brought down the price a little bit from a value area. But overall, this is a very, it's kind of a memory is overdone, processor's kind of middle of the road, cooling is overdone. But I tried to focus on the areas that were important for the user and their use case for this particular system, which of course is DAD, which is why we're calling it all Old Army. We do have this warning at the top. The warning is specific to the version of the processor we have selected, which is the 7600, a generation older than what I've currently purchased. What I really hope is that this 8600 will work with the motherboard, even if I have to do another BIOS update. But it's a concern of mine, so that's why I wanted to get the stuff in a little bit earlier, so I could work with it and kind of figure out what I'm dealing with. If it ends up being a problem, I've got some Celerons I can use to get the system operational until the new CPU comes in. And then once we have the system built, we'll test out and do some benchmarking just to see where it performs and if it even hits reasonable scores. I believe it will. You never know. Also, when we receive the case and some of the other components, I'd like to do an unboxing for you so you can kind of see what a normal Joe deals with in the case of these components when they come in, and just some of the key points I like to look at when I receive them. So hopefully that will be some future episodes we run. I'm going to call this whole series the Old Army build, only because it is for my father, who is a old Army guy, and that's pretty much it. So if you guys are interested and you enjoyed what you see, hit the thumbs up, thumbs up thingy down at the bottom. Also, hit subscribe if you like the idea of this build and you want to keep updated. If you really want to keep updated and get the news flashes, you got to hit that little alert button. I think it's down there. Yeah, down there. So Other than that, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you soon.